And I want to bring in Democratic Congressman representing part of his native San Antonio, Joaquin Castro. Congressman, thanks for joining us. I first want to play for you Governor Abbott explaining his decision to send in those National Guard troops. Watch.
First of all, we want to make sure that what has happened in California does not happen in Texas. Texas is a law and order state, and we will use every tool that we can to ensure order across our state. That includes the deployment of Texas Department of Public Safety officers, as well as Texas National Guard, in strategic locations where they can provide the most robust response where needed.
So you've got that decision and that commentary, alongside reporting that we have from the ground of some of these troops getting into a game of Uno across from the Alamo because, as Jesse reported, things were largely peaceful there. So then are you aware of any reason that Abbott would have called in the National Guard preemptively? Any concerns that he might have had?
No, I mean, I think city leaders were shocked. I think the police chief was shocked. Neither were notified by the governor before this decision was made. It's unusual for a governor to order National Guard troops to a city when there hasn't been any violence so far in San Antonio during these protests. And San Antonio has a long history of peaceful protest, of advancing for and working for civil rights and social justice in a peaceful way. The protest yesterday was largely peaceful, mostly peaceful, as far as I could tell. There's another protest on Saturday also. But, you know, the governor had deployed a lot of Guard troops and DPS troops to the U.S.-Mexico border for a few years. And so you're seeing this kind of militarization by the president and by the governor of more and more Texas cities and more cities across the nation.
I think that's the thing going into the weekend that I'm starting to think about, the multiple layers to this, that you start this week with a heavy military presence in L.A. You see it then amplified in a place like Texas. You've got these protests that were already planned, No Kings demonstrations are what they're calling them, to be a sort of counter-programming to the president's birthday parade / 250th anniversary of the Army here in D.C. When you layer those things over each other, this is a way of using the military that some people say we've never seen before and that can be seen as dangerous. I mean, talk us through the layers to this.
Absolutely. I think it's dangerous. I think it's provocative and inflammatory. And what it does is it can create its own reaction among people. It can make a situation worse, especially because in San Antonio, for example, the San Antonio Police Department, the Bexar County Sheriffs, deputies, they've always been able and had the capacity to handle any kind of incidents that arise in these protests. And that's true of most American cities. They have not had to call in the National Guard. On occasion, of course, we have. But here again, they did it before there's been any kind of violence or any hint of violence in this city. That's very unusual and it's very troubling.
Yeah, and again, I think the point that people are making is that it's not the calling in of the National Guard. It's the calling in of the National Guard by the president over the wishes of, in California's instance, the sitting governor saying, no, we don't need that, and it's making the situation
Marines,
worse.
Right, and calling in U.S. Marines to California. And then in Texas, of course, Governor Abbott will basically do whatever President Trump says. He's going to do redistricting in Texas, for example, because the president asked him to do it. And so,
another push to amplify the number of House seats that would likely go red in the coming election.
No, absolutely. But this is a dangerous kind of escalation.
But when you see it start as a pattern here, I think it fits the larger theme that the Trump administration says this is an issue that's a winner for them. You've also got, at the same time, I'll put this up on the screen, the Department of Homeland Security posting this highly produced drone video with dramatic music showing violent protesters in Los Angeles. And people have made the case that there are bad faith actors there. Democrats have urged protesters to be peaceful, but they're basically making the case here that blue cities are out of control and that the federal government needs to step in to protect people. So if they're leaning in while governors like Abbott are also matching the federal posture on bringing in the military, how does this end?
No, you're right. It's a kind of coordinated narrative to paint cities, American cities, particularly in quote unquote blue states, but also Democratic cities like San Antonio as dangerous, unruly places when, again, we've not had any violent protests. And so, when people talk about the Trump administration and what are troubling signs of this kind of transition to authoritarianism, this is exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, and yet I feel like the conversation has not yet left its immediate media silos, right? You've got the way that conservatives are talking about this. You've got the way that folks on the left are talking about it. And I'm interested to see if these narratives break their silos as we get into this weekend and past this initial moment. Congressman Joaquin Castro, always appreciate your insights. Thank you.
Good to be with you.